Hey guys, it's Christy. Welcome back. If you've been in the Dollar Tree lately, fall is definitely here. They've got their floral, their signs, everything. And while the oranges and reds are beautiful and all, we're going to try a little something different today, so let's do it. For this DIY, you're going to need one of the Dollar Tree's pumpkin wreath forms, a pair of scissors, and 6 pipe cleaners, any color you choose, but you're going to want to cut them in half. And you could choose whichever color deco mesh you want. I use the white 10-inch because I've done the orange ones and I just decided I wanted to mix it up a little bit and do white. So you're going to want to put one of your pipe cleaners on each of the cross beams of this pumpkin. Now they're a little tricky to get on to get them to stay where you want them. So you're going to go under that crossbar, see how you can slide it up and down, but you're going to bring it back to the top, and you're going to take one side of that pipe cleaner and you're going to twist it under that top bar. Now once you get it back up to meet the other one, that is when you could twist the two pieces together. Now that is connecting your pipe cleaner all the way around 3 sides of that little cross bracket there. That will prevent it from sliding up and down, and it'll keep your wreath form or your wreath from turning into a hot mess, because if it doesn't stay at the top and the bottom, it's just gonna go everywhere. So again, you attach it on both sides of the main post there, and then go down and under the top piece, and then twist your 2 ends of your pipe cleaner together. You will repeat the same steps across the entire top and across the bottom. So you will have 12 pieces of pipe cleaner attached to this wreath. 6 across the top, 6 across the bottom. Now it's time for the mesh. You will need a zip tie to bundle up the mesh. They sell zip ties at Dollar Tree. They have the small ones, but the one I found, they only had black and red. So I went and I don't know where I got these zip ties, but I found a clear one and I decided to use that because I thought it would blend in better. So I bunched up the mesh with leaving a tail sticking out, and then I wrapped my zip tie around and got it almost tightened down, and then I checked to make sure all the ends of the mesh were all the way through, and then I tightened it down, and then I cut the end off the zip tie and then trimmed the end off the mesh. I still left a tail on the mesh, like I said, because you don't want any of your ends slipping through, and then because if that happens, then that could let everything just slide out and, like I said, turn your wreath into a hot mess. So now it's time to put it on the wreath form. I get where I have zip tied the mesh together, and I put that in between my first set of pipe cleaners. So I do it to where the zip tie is on the back side, and then I wrap the mesh around the front. So if you notice, I am wrapping the mesh down around the side on this first end. That way it will cover that first curve on the wreath form. You kind of want to make sure it's like halfway across the back, that way it won't slip off. Once I have attached it at the bottom, I will run the mesh tight up along the back of the wreath form and then attach it again at the same point where I started, back up at the top. Now you don't have to undo the zip tie that you had already. I just did it on here because I already had it a little short on that one, so I wanted to make sure I had enough when I went to run it back. So once I have it secured there back at my starting point, I am going to go at an angle on the front. Hopefully that makes sense. If not, then hopefully you get to see what I'm doing here. I will go over 1 every time on the front side. If I'm at the top bar 1, then on the bottom I need to be on 2. And then if I'm on top bar on 2, I need to be on 3 on the bottom. But then I just run straight up the back from 1 to 1, from 2 to 2, from 3 to 3. Hopefully my explanation is good enough, because it's really kind of a tricky one to explain. So hopefully you just see what I'm doing here. So you make sure you secure it. I don't tighten it like multiple times with my zip ties or my pipe cleaners, because I'm going to come back over this, and so I don't want my pipe cleaner to be sticking out a mile. So only twist it one good time to where it holds that mesh into place. So you're going to repeat the same steps all the way down. If you struggle with it at first, do not worry. I don't know how many different YouTubers I had to watch do this, or how many times. There's one girl I watched in particular. She did a really good job explaining it. Maybe even a better job than me. Probably a better job than me. I will link her video below if I can find it. I don't know how many times I took mine apart and started over. I actually had to take this one apart right at the beginning. I tried to go straight down in the front. Well, you can't go straight down in the front. You have to go diagonal in the front. So luckily I saved it early. So if you struggle with this and have to take it apart, do not worry, my friend. You are not alone by far. So, but once you get the hang of this, it really does turn out pretty. So you're going to repeat this one step all the way across, and then we will go back over it. We will just zigzag across back over the front and cover the spots that maybe didn't get enough coverage, where the bars are still showing through. Odds are the bars will still show through a little bit even after you've got it completely covered and it looks amazing. You will not even care that you can still see the bars. You will also be able to fluff it around to get the best coverage possible. And for this particular pumpkin wreath, it takes one whole roll of the Deco mesh. I did an orange one with the 6-inch, and it took one roll of that. If you are using Dollar Tree mesh, I can't remember the measurements on it, but I know the Dollar Tree mesh is shorter, and it's, to be honest, thinner. There's a lot of things I'll use from the Dollar Tree, and I've used their mesh, but it's going to take you like 4 rolls of the Dollar Tree mesh versus one roll of, say, the Hobby Lobby Deco mesh, which I believe this is. No, I got this one on Amazon. I will link this one and the orange Hobby Lobby 6-inch mesh that I got, because once you buy 4 from the Dollar Tree, or you go buy 1 at Hobby Lobby at half price, it's going to even out. So you're getting a better quality mesh, honestly. So once you get it completely covered, you will then be able to fluff it around and make it look as pretty as possible. I try to fluff this out as I go to make sure that the wires are covered, but that does not always work out as planned. As you see here, I kind of have to finagle with it, and down here at the very end, I had tightened it too tight on the front, so that wire on the end wanted to pop out. So be careful how tight you make it on the front. Now, you don't want it to be super loose though, so there is a happy medium. Now that we have finished and connected on the bottom of our last bracket, we have completely covered this wreath one full time. Now I am just kind of flipping it over and fanning out my mesh a little bit. I'm not going to have it pulled crazy tight together, but I'm just going to zigzag back and forth across wherever I think it needs coverage. There's no rhyme or reason to this. I didn't want it to be like from one end to the other in one solid piece, but I just kind of went up and over a couple and then back down and over a couple, just however I thought it needed more coverage. So this is totally your discretion. Well, honestly, it's a DIY, so it's all your discretion. So just make it yours. Make it how you think it looks pretty, and as long as you're happy with it at the end, that's all that really matters, my friend. If you notice on this part, I never went up the back. On the way from after I had covered it completely, I did not have to do that pulling it tight straight up the back. I just zigzagged back and forth across the front. Now that you have come to the end, you want to do the same thing you did in the beginning. Use a zip tie, or even you just use another one of the pipe cleaners and tie the end of the mesh off tight and snip it off the way you did in the beginning. Make sure there's still plenty sticking through, and then you just tuck that back behind those back strips. All of this, once you get it snipped off and cleaned up, it will tuck in and you'll never even be able to see it's there. If you use pipe cleaners that match your Deco mesh, you will be able to even tuck those in to where they'll be like invisible. So you want to tighten your pipe cleaners down now that you're to the end. Go through all the way across the back on each one and tighten them all down a few good turns. That is what I am doing here. I'm just, instead of cranking my hand and wearing my wrist out, I hold the pipe cleaners and then I just twirl the wreath. So once I get them all twirled and all tightened down, I am going to go through and snip off the ends of the pipe cleaners, because I don't need 2 inches of pipe cleaner sticking out anymore because I'm done working with them. Now you do want to be careful and don't twist off the part that is tight, that holds them tight. So just be careful to snip above the twist. Now that you have all your mesh secured to your wreath, the hard part is over. So just tuck in all those little zip ties or pipe cleaners to where they're hidden on the inside. And now comes the fun part. You get to fluff it and make sure it's completely covered, and just do the best you can. Like I said, some of those wires are going to show through a little bit. Just do your best to cover them the best you can. Once you get that all fluffed out, then next step is to make the top of the pumpkin however you want, but I'm going to show you how I did mine. On my orange one, I actually used cinnamon sticks to cover the stem, and then I made a floral arrangement for the top. So it is really however you want to do it, but there is my white pumpkin. Now that we have all of our Deco mesh on and tightened down, we are going to make a topper for our beautiful white pumpkin. You will need 3 of the Dollar Tree's black rose picks with the pumpkins. At first I thought I was going to use the white stems there on the side. You're going to need whatever type of ribbon you like. I would recommend using the wired ribbon. This is 2-inch black and white polka dot ribbon that I believe I got from Amazon. I will link that in the description below. But you are also going to need to hold your ribbon together once you're finished to hold your bow. You're going to need one zip tie. So to get it started, I measured out how long I wanted the tail of my bow. I just eyeball mine. I know some people get out their ruler or tape measure or whatever and measure it all out. I just eyeball it. With the loops, I grab one and make it, and then that is the one I match all the rest of them up against. So if you see right there where I stick my fingers in and pull them up, that is me making sure that both of my loops are the same size. Now, after you make your first 2 loops, if you're using ribbon like this that is only decorated on one side, you're going to want to twist your ribbon over before you make your next loop. I hope that makes sense. I hope you can see what I'm doing here. I will actually probably do a tutorial on how to make this bow. So once I get that done, I will link that in the description below. But I ended up making this, I believe, 6 loops, and then I measured out the tails, and I got my zip tie and tightened it around the middle. Now, I am notorious for making one side of my bow larger than the other. It's like once I have it pinched like this, I put the zip tie in the wrong spot. So I'm learning. I actually, on this one, I tightened it down almost all the way, and then I checked to make sure my loops were the same size on both sides, and then I tightened it down tight so they are not going anywhere. Here you are going to want to use a pipe cleaner and attach your bow to the wreath frame. Actually twist it to the wires on the wreath form, that way you know it's not going anywhere. So once your bow is complete and on your wreath form, you can start playing around with where you want your floral. I actually used a little bit of hot glue on these pumpkins because they have a tendency to pop off. So I went ahead and I popped them off, and I put a little hot glue in the hole where they get stuck on, and then I stuck them back on. That way the hot glue would help adhere the pumpkin to the stem to where they wouldn't come off. Now here you see me using some of the silver metallic pipe cleaners, and I will take those and wrap them around like a dowel rod and make little curly cues out of them, and you'll see that here in a little bit. But right now I think I'm using those pipe cleaners to actually attach the stems to the wreath form. That way they are good and secure on my wreath. I don't want any of it to come loose. If you're selling these or just making them for yourself or making them for a friend, no matter what you're doing with them, you're going to want them to be good and secure. Once you've played around with where you want your floral and got your pumpkins all secure, you are going to want to think about if you want to have a sign on yours. I found these galvanized words at Dollar Tree just by dumb luck. I already had the Halloween sign, or the Halloween words, like haunted and spooky. I think there's 3 in a pack. But I found a pack that had thankful, welcome, and harvest. So for this wreath, I'm going to use welcome. And somehow, I did not have the footage where I painted this, but I used the Krylon matte black paint, and I just spray painted that word welcome, and then I hot glued it right to the wreath. I really hope you guys enjoyed watching me make this wreath as much as I enjoyed making it, and I hope you consider liking this video and subscribing, and I will see you guys again on my next video. Huh?